Hi guys, Christy from Worldschool Chronicles. Today I want to talk about low budget traveling, which is what we do. So we actually live on 800 Canadian dollars per month, because I always put, well, we live on about 1,000, but I always put 200 away for to save for our next destination. So we live on about 800, which is kind of limited, but I have some tricks for how we do that. And our biggest expense is rent, obviously, and so one of my tricks is we try and do work away, woofing, or house sitting as much as we can. So for instance, sometimes we'll make a deal with people, like if we know that somebody is sick in the neighborhood, we've heard around that somebody is sick in the neighborhood, we'll make a deal and we'll go and visit them, and we'll say, hey, we can help you out if we can, stay in your basement, for example. Last summer I was doing full-time, like live-in nanny, and I was living in the woman's basement looking after her daughter. I got a little bit of pay, and I got a place to stay, so I wasn't paying rent, which was good, because last year my income was about 500 a month, so that really helped me out a lot. So we just find places where we can stay and work in exchange for our room and board. And so some of those things that we do is I do childcare, or we've done painting fences, we've done all kinds of different things. You just kind of have to work out the deal before you get there. So there's like trustedhousesitters.com, there's workaway.info, there's wwoof.net, and most of those you have to pay a membership fee, but it's totally worth it, because for instance on Workaway I think I paid $30 for the year, but if we go once for a week, it's already paid for itself, because I wouldn't find a place to stay for $30 for a week. And so it works out okay. So that's one of the ways that we lower our costs. Another way is if we're staying in a place longer term, because I usually like to stay 6 to 12 months in a place, because it makes it cheaper. So we find rentals in lower income neighborhoods with the locals, and so I'll rent a hotel or a hostel or something for or couch surf for 3 or 4 days, and then during those 3 or 4 days we'll go and find something local. So for instance, last year we were in the Dominican Republic, and I went to a little village outside of Puerto Plata, which is a city, and I found a house, and it was 4 bedrooms, 1 bathroom for $100. It was $125 with internet and power. And because we were in a smaller village, it was a lot cheaper. In the city, it's a lot more. So I tend to try and stay in smaller villages where rent is cheaper, or in poorer neighborhoods where rent is cheaper. And we get a totally different experience by staying in those poorer neighborhoods and smaller communities, because when you're in a poorer neighborhood, everybody really sticks together and helps each other. So it works out really well for you as a newcomer, because people befriend you, and they'll say, oh, well, how much did you get that for? Where are you going to get this? And you'll say, oh, I'm going to go there. Oh, no, don't go there. That's expensive. No, I'll show you. So it really helps me to be in those neighborhoods, because the locals help me to figure out where is cheaper to go for food and all of that kind of stuff. Um, we don't. I have never rented a car in all of our times, other than a day here or a day there. If something's far and we want to go check it out, we'll rent a car for a day. But I've never like rented a car for like months on end. I've never bought a car overseas. I've never like here, now that we're in Canada here, and we're heading off soon, we've bought a $300 car, and that's what we're using to get around with. It's not the prettiest, but it runs, it gets us where we need to go, and it works. So yeah, and then so our plan is, because we bought a cheap car, so our plan now is in September or October, we're gonna start driving across Canada towards Toronto, because that's where we want to leave from, and we're just gonna find an auto wrecker near Toronto or in Toronto somewhere, and sell the car for for the metal, and then leave, because I paid $300 for the car. So that's another way of getting around. And then we take public transit everywhere we go. You meet a lot of really cool people, and it's a lot cheaper. Another thing that really cuts our costs is I try and find as many free things that we can do as possible. So, for instance, last summer we were in Edmonton in Canada, and they are the festival capital of Canada. There is a festival going every week of the summer, from the middle of June all the way to the end of August. And so we spent a lot of our days downtown at the free pools, at the library, at the splash pads, and at the festivals. And we were rarely home, and we were always out doing something, and we didn't spend very much. So we would go for the day. I have a friend in Edmonton, and lovely lady, and her name's Rhonda, and her and I would work together. So one of us would go get fruit, and the other one would go get snacks from the dollar store, and we would pool it all together, and we would meet downtown. And between us, we have 7 kids. Sometimes she had 9, depending on how many kids she had, because she runs the day home. And so we would have 9 kids, and we would be down at the pools downtown, or at the whatever festival it was, or at the playground, or at the library, and we didn't spend any money other than a bus pass. So it was a great experience. Kids loved it. Kids don't need to be in amusement parks all the time, I don't think. So yeah, and another thing that last summer, I found a lot of really cool things that even locals didn't know about, because I Googled free things to do in Edmonton this week. That's exactly what I Googled, and you can try it in any city, and usually stuff will pop up. So, because I've tried it for Texas and different cities, like San Antonio or Los Angeles or whatever, and lots of things will pop up. So if you're in a place and you're looking for free stuff to do, Google free things to do in whatever city you're in this week, and stuff will pop up. So we like to do that. Another thing we do is we eat like locals. So let's say we're in Thailand, we eat a lot of rice, we eat a lot of veggies, we go to the markets. We don't generally go to supermarkets where a lot of it's import food, because the import food is what's expensive. So we like to eat like locals. We tend to not eat out a lot. We tend to cook at home. It helps because my son's autistic, and he's got a lot of sensory issues, and some of the foods that are offered in restaurants or wherever are not things that he will even touch. So we do a lot of cooking at home, and it works for us. You can also try a lot of places in the States and in Canada and probably other places. We try and find as much free food as we can as well, so a lot of food gets thrown out, so we try and find as much free food as we can. Here in the little community where we are now, there's a free lunch every Wednesday, so we go to that. There's in Canada for sure, just about every Gurdwara, which is a Sikh temple, has a free lunch every afternoon to anybody that would like to join them. So there's lots of ways to supplement your food as well. And so I try and find as many free things to do, as many places to stay, that we exchange our labor for our room and board, and I try to use public transit. So those are the top 3 ways of living on a low budget. You can totally live on a low budget, and you can totally live a good life on a low budget world schooling. That's all I have for today. I'm Christy with Worldschool Chronicles. Thanks again.